Would you like to take your order right now, sir? Yeah, sure. I'll have the... The magic of animation, please. Okay, sir, do you want to side with that? Yes, I'll have some history on the side. Okay, one magic of animation with history on the side coming right up. See you soon. I bet some of you watching have seen an animated YouTube storytime video, or perhaps an episode of a cartoon, and while you were watching it, you might have asked yourself, how long did this take? Or if you've seen an episode of a fan animated series after 4 months of waiting, you might have asked, why did this take so long to come out? Well, all that and more will be explained when I tell you all about the magic and some history of animation. Also, when I refer to animation, I mean 2D animation. We are not opening the can of worms as 3D animation yet. Though I do think I'll get around to doing that one day. You know how sometimes you would draw multiple pictures in the corner of your notebook and make little flipbooks? Well, that's actually how animation was made back then before we had our fancy modern technology like drawing tablets or computers. Back then, animations were just really long flipbooks with up to 100,000 frames made. However, this takes longer than you think. What I'm going to refer to as flipbook animation is very complicated. You need to have the proper timing to make the animation look as smooth as possible according to your frame rate, like 12 or 24 frames a second. You can't just draw 24 pictures of your character and think it's going to look smooth, because it isn't. In order to make movies like this, studios like Disney will take some animation frames from older films and reuse them. An example of this is this scene from The Jungle Book. Now, The Jungle Book was made after Christopher Robin, where there was a scene where Chris throws rocks and stuff like that. They wanted Mowgli to do the same thing, but instead of animating an entirely new scene, they reused the animation from Christopher Robin so they could save time to develop the rest of the movie. This technique is still used today. Some animators reuse some of their assets from their backgrounds to make new backgrounds to save time for animation. Actually, one of the people who use this technique is The Odd Ones Out. He reuses some of the assets from his old backgrounds in order to make new backgrounds, like these. Speaking of backgrounds, they are really underappreciated. Some artists take hours to make a background that lasts for 4 seconds in the finished product. That's why I don't really like using backgrounds. I don't want to make people's work feel underappreciated. It's also because I want to get this out quicker. Now that we're done talking about techniques from the past, let's pop back over to the present. Now, some people assume that companies make their episodes in 1 week, since a new episode of a show normally airs once a week, preferably on a Saturday. This is not true. A lot happens in the duration of making a show. A whole season is made at the same time, and it takes roughly 2 years to make it from scratch. That's why when shows reference memes, they're extremely outdated. There are 3 important roles of animation, and they all need each other. Number 1, the writers. The backbone of the show. They write out how the entire story will go. Number 2, the storyboard artists. They are the ones that make the rough draft for the animation. The job is important, yet meaningless without the writers. And number 3, the designers. The ones who make it how everything looks and what makes their characters unique. They both require the jobs of the writer and storyboard artist because without them, they can't really design anything. That's how modern and official TV shows are made today. But let's see how YouTube handles animation. Now, web cartoons have existed on websites like Newgrounds for far longer before YouTube was created. But since YouTube is the video platform, we're going to start out when YouTube had first started getting animated storytime videos. In the 2010s, people who made animations on Newgrounds had grown up and had to start making money. And while Newgrounds itself did make money, they did not pay their creators. Then, in the mid-2000s, YouTube made its debut, and its popularity had started to grow, especially since it was easier to access than Newgrounds. Some of the content creators on Newgrounds had started to repost their projects on YouTube. However, the quality on YouTube wasn't as good as it was on Newgrounds, but the spark was still there. Thus started the Great Animation Migration, where basically all of Newgrounds was available on the YouTube app. Now it's time to introduce the people who first started making simple animated storytime videos. Introducing Swoozie and Domix, YouTubers who told stories about their life via animation. Because of this new, never-seen-before format of video making, the interest spiked and their channels had exploded from this point. And where there's popularity, there are followers. In 2014, there was the introduction of both Gene Animations and The Odd Ones Out. They started off as pretty small channels with only a handful of subscribers. They specialized in animated storytime videos and had really relatable stories. Then in 2016, something had just clicked. And then all of a sudden, Jaden and James had just exploded in subscribers. The following year, there was a following of a lot of people who were interested in this format of video making. Soon, the animation community had grown a lot more than what people had expected, and was one of the biggest communities on the platform. All of that led to this. Now I'm part of the community. Do I have to sign a form or something? Now that we know how animation is made, we must ask ourselves one final question. Why do we animate? Or why should we animate? Animation is one of many ways to express yourself, to tell a story, or to entertain. For me, animation makes me happy. Whether it's watching a cartoon or making my own project, animation makes me happy nonetheless. So if you're feeling down or want to try something new, I suggest you should give animation a try. Thank you for watching.